with you all. So this is just for fun. Should be very quick and should be a lot of fun. So you have two options. You can either go to menti.com on your mobile and enter the code 4173202, or you can scan the QR code that's here. So once you are there, let me now switch to the presenter portal. You'll see a question over there for which you'll have, I think, 3 options to answer. And the question is, I joined IIT because I want. So tell us 3 things that you wanted, and that's the reason you joined IIT. And I don't see any responses just yet. So let me know, guys, if you're actually able to go to menti.com and use this code to get in. Kunal, Ashish, are you guys able to do it? Oh, I see stuff starting to come in. That's good to see. Good life. Okay. Good job. And house. Okay. You joined IIT because you want house. That's awesome. Good placements. Greater and better connections. A car. Respect. Awesome. Bandi. Nice.
Honest people in the group.
Nice. I appreciate the honesty, guys. Keep it coming. Better life, good job, good placement. I wanted an exposure, great exposure to move around the world. Job, best alum. Fulfill parents' dream. That's awesome. I'm so glad to see that here. Good peer group. That's good. Good money. Nice. More honesty. That's good. Resources at IIT. Better life. I think major themes that are emerging are exposure, to explore my interests, good placements, fun is a big one, good job is a big one, good placement, respect is a big one.
Someone said IIT T-shirt.
IIT t-shirt. that was definitely one of my reasons. I definitely wanted to wear an IIT hoodie and travel around, just let
I
people.
remember you used to wear only IIT shirts for like a very long time.
I think I'm
Yeah.
still wearing them. Knowledge of the world. Nice. Meet new people. Explore. Paisa hi paisa. बस ऐसे ही sexy लग रहा था. Nice. Good. Good money, good facilities. Become a hectacorn. I'm not sure I understood that
Yeah.
one.
What I
Hectacorn.
was also looking at that. What's a hectacon? Maybe we are too old, Arjit, to
Yeah.
know these terms.
What's a hectacorn, guys? Social exposure. Play cricket. Someone is saying still thinking why. That's good. That's good. I hope you're still in first year, so you have time.
Yeah.
I also see smoke weed. All right, guys, it's still not legal.
Yeah.
Still not legal in India. If you want to do that, come to Canada. It's legal where I am. Hype. Job. Exposure. Nice. Oh, I see responses are slowing down now. So this is good. Feel free to take a screenshot of this, guys, but I will also share it later on. Kamine dost. Someone is saying सब कर रहे थे तो कर लिया. Good, good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Unless someone sees something really good here and they want to call out. To make imaginations come true. That's really good to hear, guys. Sounds like this is a very ambitious bunch, which is so good to see.
Someone said good peer group. I think that's a very good response. That's definitely something I've come to realize that was probably the biggest takeaway.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Greater and better connections. Yeah, so there's no one term for that, but I think a lot of you are referring to the network that you build at IIT. And that network really, really pays off in the long run. I think Kunal, Ashish, and I, we have seen that for a few years. Regardless of wherever you are in the world, you will have some community, you will have support, and that's really incredible to see. And not just from IITR, but from all the IITs. There's a sense of community which just never goes away, no matter how far you are from India. All right, think a lot of good responses here. Let's go to the next one. In 10 years, I want to be a, and for this question, you should only have one option, so not more than one. Start putting in anything. This could be a personal thing, a professional thing, anything that you want to be in 10 years. All right, billionaire,
Nice.
happy person, social entrepreneur, boyfriend, civil servant, social entrepreneur is gaining some traction, good player of volleyball. All right, nice job. CEO, not yet decided. Okay, that's fine too. That's completely okay. Richest man. Okay, that's paisa is there again.
There is one paisa hi paisa person in the group.
PUBG PMCO. I know PUBG, but what's PMCO? I don't know that. Maybe
Again,
I'm
too
PUBG.
old
That
for.
Shanti ho zindagi mein. Okay, okay. So just want peace. That's good.
Someone really into chess, grandmaster in CP.
Where is that? A grandmaster in chess. I don't see that. In 10 years, I want to be a machao. Nice. Good to see IITR lingo after so long.
Machao still goes on. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
Someone says God. I see Mafia is still being played in the hostels then. Want to be a god. 10 years, I want to be a famous person. Okay. Entrepreneur and social entrepreneur are definitely big themes. Also, not yet decided. A lot of people are there. That's okay. Someone says Modi ka right hand. Okay, okay. I don't know if in 10 years Modi will still be prime minister, but sure, he will still be an important person. So good luck.
Some people are just like sheer practical. Like, I want to be a dad in 10 years. I want to be a married man.
Yeah,
Nice.
and
Practical thing.
there's nothing wrong with it. That's really good. Someone
Yeah,
says
yeah.
Ambani ka damad.
I think chances are gone.
Uh, I don't even know. Does Ambani have a daughter who will
Yeah,
be?
but he's married, so too late.
Oh, oh, okay. Too late, or maybe who knows? There's no age to getting married. Uh, someone says ऐसे immediate नहीं सोचे.
Hmm.
Happy person. That's good. That's good. I think happiness is the most important thing. that one can seek in life.
But
Travel.
entrepreneurship is also quite big. So Kunal, be ready to answer some questions.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of questions coming for you, Kunal. Someone says outside India. Someone's really fed up with India. In 10 years, they want to be outside India. I want to be a guy who can change the world. Inventor. That's good to see. Inventor. All right. I see response rate is slowing down now. So thanks so much, guys, for this. Once again, feel free to take a screenshot, share it wherever you like, but I will share it later on as well. All right. Let's go back to some serious stuff now, and let's move on to our panel discussion. Today, as I said earlier, we have three alums here, including myself. All three of us are from IIT Roorkee, from 2013 batch, and from electrical. So we were best buddies then. We are buddies now. We will skip sort of formal introductions here. Again, you guys have our LinkedIn, Facebook, search us there, see what we have done in our professional life, in our personal life. But we will sort of go into the questions you guys have asked us. So I floated an Eventbrite link for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I think 70 or so of you actually registered there and asked us a lot of good questions that were on your minds, and I'm sure they are on the minds of your classmates as well. What we want to do here is we'll dive straight into those questions. We basically categorized all those questions into 8 different themes that most of you wanted to ask about. And then we chose amongst the three of us who is the best person to answer or to speak on that particular theme. So before we begin, just a quick note. Do not worry about taking any notes here. We will share this deck with you later. This deck, this slide will have a lot of good information linked to resources that you can lift from right here. So don't worry about taking any screenshots or notes or anything of that nature. We will share all of the material later on. All right, with that, we can get started with the first question, which is about machine learning. And who better than Ashish Ranjan Jha to talk about that? Quickly about Ashish, he's been working and researching in the ML field for I think last 4 to 5 years, or maybe even more. He has already authored a book on machine learning, or maybe a couple books at this point. So Ashish, floor is all yours. Take it away.
Thanks, Arjit, for the generous introduction. So hello, everyone. First of all, it's a pleasure to be connected to you. Yeah, I am almost reminded of my Roorkee days when I was in second, third, fourth years. Really happy to be here with you guys. But without wasting any further time, let's straight dive into this first question, right, about machine learning. And I really appreciate that you have questions around this topic because it's a really booming field of work in industry and academia. So yeah, let's go into me trying to answer this question, like how do you get into this field, how do you further advance? So Arjit, maybe you can go to the next slide straight away. All right, so the way I decided to answer this question is first giving you the steps, like how I think you should pursue this to become kind of an intermediate to an expert in this field. First things first, so if you imagine me giving you a toolkit around machine learning, like how do you become good at doing it? This is perhaps the most fundamental yet the most important tool, which is the programming language Python. So most of machine learning work today in industry and academia is being done in Python, the programming language. So the first thing is to just learn it, either through a course at IIT Roorkee or through an online course, which I have put a link to in the presentation, or just start practice writing Python code. And trust me, it's one of the easier programming languages to learn as compared to C++ or Java. It has a rather shallow learning curve. So that would be the first step. Next, Arjit, if you go next. the next step would be to actually learn the basic concepts behind ML. So what I'm referring to is the machine learning models, random forest, logistic regression, linear regression. These are different machine learning models that you can either again learn through courses at IIT Roorkee or take some online courses. And this is one of the best, I can assure you, by Andrew Ng on Coursera. So if you start somewhere, you will eventually start picking up the concepts. You can also go for books. I have put two books, for example, here. One of them is the Elements of Statistical Learning. It's quite a textbook that covers a lot of theory if you are interested in the theory. So you can go for that. If it's too time consuming for you, I personally authored a book called the Supervised Learning Workshop, and I wrote this with the aim of making it easy to the readers. So it has a lot of Python exercises around all the different kinds of models. So feel free to check that out too. There are links to everything again in the slides, so don't worry. You can access the slides later. After machine learning concepts comes deep learning. So deep learning is theoretically a subtype of machine learning, but it's perhaps the most important subtype of machine learning, and it's widely used now. And anyone who calls themselves ML professional, they almost are expected to know deep learning. So you should learn the basic concepts of deep learning as well. And my advice would be again to either start through courses at Roorkee if there are. Just start picking up courses from online platforms. I have put a link to a book, which is a great one by Ian Goodfellow on deep learning, which gives you a lot of theory behind all the different kind of deep learning models, the convolutional networks, and so on. A quick note on those like two different kind of libraries for those of you who already know about deep learning. There is TensorFlow, there is PyTorch, two of the widely used libraries. Don't waste time thinking on which library to pick. Just pick one and get on with it. So if at Roorkee, if at electrical engineering department, I know that TensorFlow is being used. I had a chat with Pillai sir recently, and he said TensorFlow is being used. Yeah, no worries, just go on with it. Like, start learning. It's all the same, the concepts are the same. So yeah, deep learning still very important. And the next point is perhaps the point I want you to take away from this slide, the whole slide, which is practice. And I can't emphasize enough how much valuable this is. So what I mean to say is, don't just delve into courses, don't just passively listen to lectures from great professors. That is great, but it's worth nothing if you don't get your hands dirty. So my first advice would be, go to Kaggle. If you haven't already signed up, just sign up. If you have, just start working on competitions. It's basically a machine learning competition platform. Also has a huge ML community and also data science community. Start working on simplest competitions and keep building up from there. You learn from other people how they approach different ML problems, and I can assure you that it's not that hard to become at least intermediate level in a few months if you keep on it, like if you keep at it. Besides Kaggle, I actually would even advise you, be even more ambitious. Think of building your own ML app. You know what? Like, think of, for example, building your own face detector app. You can train a face detection model, and there are resources online to do that. And then try to either embed it into a mobile app, learn building mobile apps, or learn building web apps. There are tutorials everywhere these days. So you can just Google for those. Try building an app which is based on ML end to end. If you do that, it's not just an incredible skill that you have learned, but also a very tangible thing on your resume. Yeah, but don't just do it for the resume. Do it actually for the skill that you will learn. My final advice there is, for people who are really deep into machine learning, try to find your niche. So not just being a generalist, but there are sections within machine learning, such as if you go next, Arjit, there are fields such as computer vision for those who are interested in images, videos kind of data. For people who have been working with text or sequential data, NLP or natural language processing is another subfield. Or reinforcement learning for people who fancy working on training video game agents. So yeah, those are all the different steps in chronological order, starting from the top, going to the bottom. A final note on, just wanted to give you a landscape of ML, like where all can you go from Roorkee, especially if you are working in this field or if you want to be invested in this field. You can either go for research, you can do an MS or even PhD in the biggest, like best computer science universities, MIT, Stanford, ETH, EPFL. Big tech companies, the FANG, they have been hiring and they will keep hiring data scientists, machine learning engineers, researchers for the next couple of years, even decade, I would say. And all the way down to AI startups, you can work there, which are focused purely on AI. And again, I would say be even more ambitious. Think of building your own startup. If you have the skills, if you are able to build apps by yourself, if you have a good idea in your head, yeah, just ML is one of the best places to start with. On the final note, I'm going to put links to few more resources. So as I said, online courses. You guys are really lucky that you have at least 10-20 courses per topic for like really world class courses available online. There are books, I have put links to that as well. And one important point, blogs. So try also following more real-time developments. So blogs are a great way to look at what's happening in real time about machine learning tools or machine learning technology in general. Next one would be research papers. So for those who are interested in going deep into the field for doing an MS or a PhD, read research papers. And finally, podcasts. So back then, when we were at IIT Roorkee, podcasts weren't a thing, but I can now imagine someone walking back from electrical engineering department to their bhavan and maybe giving a listen to stochastic gradient descent on a podcast, right? So just pick your resource, but start. I think ML is really a promising field. So for those who are interested, yeah, really pursue this field, and yeah, contact me if you need more information. But that was it on this question. Let's straight away jump to the next one. So yeah, Arjit, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ashish. A lot of good information and resources there for you guys to leverage from this tech later on. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is related to startups and entrepreneurship. A lot of you asked or had questions about how to start, what are the things that may worry you at times within entrepreneurship, what are some reliable resources to refine startup idea and so on. So for that, among the three of us, Kunal is definitely the best person to answer that. Kunal has taken a plunge to launch a robotics-based startup working on AI and computer vision-based autonomous drones to deliver safety solutions. So Kunal, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Arjit. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, it's a very relevant question. Definitely, I am sure a lot of people have that on their mind. So let me first try to answer the question directly. So what motivated me to explore entrepreneurship? So, I mean, to give you a rough idea, I got once I graduated from IIT, I got placed in a mining company, and uh, I had a good salary. I had relative job security, and it was a core job. So it like a lot of people told me, and I also thought that it was a dream placement, right? Uh, but 3 years down the line, or approximately 2.5 years, um, I was very disturbed. Um, I thought that I had a dream placement, but it didn't really turn out because I realized that the things that drive me are slightly different than what the company offered or what my life was offering me. So Arjit, if you can move to the next slide. Uh, yeah. So I mean, at the outset, being an entrepreneur sounds very cool, uh, and it is to a certain degree. But more often than not, being an entrepreneur means that you are taking more risk. There is basically no entrepreneurship without risk. You are working harder and longer than most of your friends. I would say most of your former batchmates, and you are working for a lot less money. But on the flip side, you get a chance to work on your dream. You manage your own work yourself, so there is like no one is your boss. Uh, you learn a lot more and very fast because startup environment is a very dynamic environment. You have to learn a plethora of different skills, and I think if you guys pay attention to the graphic in between, you can see a guy with 6 hands. So it does feel like that sometimes because you have to handle a lot of things. So it's a very rigorous learning experience. And most importantly, like for me, the most important point was that um, I found that I was much more motivated um, and I had a much higher satisfaction when I founded my own company, as compared to what I had when I was working in another company. So for me, the stuff on the right, the stuff on green, that actually outweighed the stuff on the left, and that's what motivated me. Um, but at the same time, so Arjit, if you can go to the next slide. So uh, so here is some resources, as like people ask what are some reliable resources. Um, but let's also try to understand what entrepreneurship actually means. And like the dictionary definition of entrepreneurship is like it's an act of organizing, managing, and assuming risk of a business or enterprise, right? So if there is no risk, no business, no product, and no customer, then it's not entrepreneurship. Then many people say that if you don't have any of these, then you are just like saying that I'm an entrepreneur is just a fancy way of saying that I'm unemployed, right? So my advice would be don't pursue entrepreneurship just for the sake of it, just because it's a trend these days. Uh, it takes a lot more, and it's also a lot like it's also very rewarding. But first, I think what someone at your stage should do right now is read about it. So I've put some resources here. This is in no way an exhaustive list. Some books, a few links down there, and a lot of you might be in this stage. Some of you also asked that, okay, how can I um, manage the load of taking up entrepreneurship with my studies and all that. So my clear advice to you is that in college you should spend time in building skills, right? And in that spirit, you can actually start by reading about entrepreneurship. Try to understand what entrepreneurship really is, what it takes to start a company, what it takes to bring an idea, like from idea to startup. That is something you should spend time on right now rather than directly jumping into entrepreneurship. So this is time to build skills, right? And the more time you spend in building skills right now, the better it will be for you in the future. And so and also entrepreneurship is like a lot of people ask that how can I take up entrepreneurship? So according to me, it's not something that you can take up, right? It's not a job. It's not like being a doctor or engineer or like an MBA. It's very different from being a job title. It's as I said, the definition is that it's an act of organizing, managing, and assuming risk of a business or enterprise. It could be anything, right? So just keep that in mind. Now let me give you some specific advice as well. Um, so if you have an idea already, if at this stage you already have an idea and you think it's a cool idea and you should start a company around it, the first thing to do is to actually ascertain uh, whether it will work or not. So how can you do that? First thing is talk to relevant people, get feedback. Don't be afraid in sharing your idea because I mean, a lot of people are afraid that if I share my idea, someone might steal it. Uh, if you do that, you will actually continue living in a bubble. So try to share the idea to relevant people, people who are in that field, people who have taken up, who have started their own companies, and learn to filter feedback, good feedback versus bad feedback, right? So learn to filter that. Um, Genuine people will always offer you constructive criticism. So if someone says that your idea is crap and you should just not pursue it, I think that's bad feedback. A constructive feedback would be how can you make it work, right? What is missing? What do you need to work on? That kind of feedback. Then there are a lot of other resources available these days on the internet. There are numerous startup workshops. There are online courses. A lot of hackathons are organized where you can just go and pitch your idea. So be active in that space. Uh, and maybe this is a bit for when you are towards the end of your graduation, because as I said, right now people who are in first, second, third year, they should focus more on building skills. So you can start with going through some literature, developing an entrepreneurial mindset, not just becoming an entrepreneur, but developing that mindset. I think that is the most critical right now. And the last point I want to make is, because someone also asked what keeps you going in the dark times, right? So according to me, what keeps me going is just one thing: my belief in myself, and that is the only thing that will keep you going in dark times, according to me. Because if you don't, I mean, if you lose only when you stop believing in yourself, right? So if you know that your idea is good, you have talked to a large number of people, you know that idea is good, then never give up on it and never give up on yourself. So that is the only thing that will get you out of those dark times. So that is all from me. I think we can move on to the next question.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kunal. The moment I met you, I knew you had the risk appetite and sort of motivation to go after something like this. So I wish you all the best with your startup. And thanks for sharing all of these resources with folks here. Let's go to the next theme. A lot of you had questions around career and what career options are right to pick after IIT, whether to go for programming or core electrical career, how to pick between industry and academia. And Ashish would like to take a stab at this. Ashish, the floor is yours.
Yep, thanks, Arjit. So if you can go to the next slide. I actually took this question and expanded on this, not just between these two kind of choices, but let's begin with what are the career options that we think that we have in front of us. So if you think about it, like, and maybe I'm outdated here because again older than you guys, so there might be more career options popping up these days. But as far as I know of the spectrum, so if you can go next, Arjit, if you look at what are the career options available to us, you could be an electrical engineer or an electronics engineer. You're right. You could be a software engineer. You could go for IAS preparations, MBA, MS, PhD. You could think of building your own startup, right? Something that Kunal was just addressing before, and the list goes on. So, right. This is like this just shows, right, how diverse the set of the kind of career options that we have as IITians, just because we are talented enough to be able to pursue those. But I think the crux of the question is more around how do we decide what career option to go with, like what line of work do we choose to pursue. And for those who were expecting a analytical or logical answer, such as a decision tree, that okay, if you have this and this in your resume or in your skills, then go for this, else go for that. So I am sorry to disappoint you. I don't have an analytical or a logical answer to this, but I think it's more of a philosophical answer that I'm going to share with you. So if you can go next, Arjit, and this is coming from life experience, by the way. So precisely what I have felt. So if you look at this kind of a representative flow chart, right? Think of a career choice that you would like to pursue, right? Ask a set of questions around it, and these set of questions could be your own list, right? I'm just putting some things here based on my thinking. First things first, is this really what you want, right? Is it worth your time? Is it going to pay you enough? If you get answers, the yes answers to all of these, fine, go ahead. But if you feel that something is off with this career choice, start thinking about another one, another more likely career choice. So basically it's really more about introspection, like thinking inside. I know in my batch during electrical engineering 2009 to 2013, I could see people having some basic instinct about what they want to pursue. Some people were interested in electrical engineering as a career option, they went for it. I was personally more towards software engineering. So if you can go next, Arjit, there is like this one line I want to share with you, which goes something like, do what you love once your bills are paid. So what I mean by that, and let me give you my personal story here. At IIT Roorkee, I was in electrical engineering batch, right? But before IIT, I used to practice programming even before. It just so happened that my AIR was in that range, that I landed up in electrical engineering. I started studying and pursuing electrical very well. I was actually a 9-pointer, by the way, for those of you who didn't know. But then eventually when the placement season came around, I landed in a purely software engineering job at Oracle. So what really happened there was my inner instinct was still telling me to pursue something which involves logical thinking, which involves coding, programming. So that's why I think I ended up there. But also there is the bills being paid, right? Which is another way of saying getting some good salary. So placement, at least at our times, had mostly software or computer science companies coming in the initial days because they were paying better. So that was like kind of the trade-off, right, which I made in my time. So that's why I chose Oracle and I went there. It's another thing that I then took few more decisions. I went for an MS from there on, and I then took more turns in my career. I chose machine learning as my line of profession from there on. But this is just to give you an idea of how I thought through about career option. Another thing is opportunity cost. For any choice that you make, please remember that you are discarding all other choices. So when you are deciding that you want to go for a PhD, just make sure that you are comfortable or you are really gonna like working 4 years or thousands of hours on that particular topic on the PhD, because you are gonna not use those 4 years worth of time for a job or for your startup and so on. So just think through in those terms as well, comparing different choices. If you go next, Arjit. um, this is another very individual based decision. Some people might be optimizing for just job satisfaction or satisfaction, happiness in life, as many people wrote in the initial answer. Some people might be optimizing for money. I remember someone wrote paisa hi paisa. Someone might be just going for job security because they just want something as a job and which pays them at regular intervals. But someone might just be interested in challenges, like our friend Kunal, who just wanted to go and build his own startup, right? So to each their own. There is no one formula for deciding a career option. Look at your personal story, look at what you really like to do, and also be practical about it. My final comments on this is like, if you just go next, Arjit. So a few comments, right? Like, given how the world is today, in general, be ready to be to pivot and restart. Again, my example, I worked as a software engineer for Oracle, but I saw machine learning is picking up as an industry trend. I just changed gears. I went for an MS, leaving my job, and from there on I pursued machine learning. This might happen to you as well. You might take a career option. Be ready to switch gears, switch tracks. Kunal also changed like his first job and pursued an MS in robotics, for example. So yeah, be ready to do that. That's a quality which will really help you. Again, gut feeling is really underrated. Introspect. I know it's difficult at this point of time. You have way too many things going on in your campus life and so on, but still keep an eye on what your gut instinct tells you, what you really want to pursue in life. And lastly, and this is again very sincerely, I was when I was in college at your stage, I was completely undecided on what I want to do in life. So it's really okay, in my opinion. Start with something like I started with my job at Oracle, and then keep iterating. So it's not a one-time decision. You can always evolve with your decision. So yeah, that's I think that's all the things I wanted to share with you in this regard. So maybe back to you, Arjit.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Thanks for sharing your life journey with everyone here. All right, moving on to a slightly different theme, but still on career. Some of you were wondering whether career strategy is something which is planned all along, or is it more a chance or random places where you land up. So for this one, Kunal, it's yours. Take it away.
Thank you, Arjit. So yeah, again a very good question and a very relevant question. Some people also asked how to deal with peer pressure in this regard, and should we make decisions based on what everyone else is doing, and what's really the right choice. So I mean, direct answer. My direct answer is there is no right choice, like no absolute right choice. Everyone has their own, as Ashish also pointed out in his part. But for me, I know I did not have a career strategy all along, but it started taking shape gradually as I gained more experience. And it was not by chance. As you realize, as you will realize your longer term goals, interests, and priorities in life, you will start making more sensible decisions, right? So Arjit, if you can move on to the next one. I just want to give some pointers on how I I approach this whole topic. So first advice would be for everyone to actually learn to differentiate between what your goals are and what are the ways to get there, right? So career for me is highly related to my end goals, but the career strategy is just a tool for me, not the goal itself, right? So I think this is for me. It was very important to differentiate. It's a bit like this waterboarding graphic that you see. So as long as your goal is like this rope that you are holding, right? It will keep you moving in one general direction, right? And what you do like on the waterboard is basically your more regular life. So goals are basically where you want to go, and how ways are how to get there. So goals are normally longer term, they're more comprehensive. They include more than just you. Many people think about family, community, nation, entire world when deciding their goals, and how to get there is a short term, opportunistic, and highly dependent on your talents and skills, right? So goals often also cannot be figured out in a day. It takes years to figure them out, and how to get there can change fast based on your situation and your end goal, because life is not always that certain. So for example, someone's end goal is that I want to dedicate my life to fight climate change, and the ways to get there can be many. So you can become an engineer, you can become a politician, you can become an economist. All of them will in their own way try to get you closer to your end goal, right? So my advice at this stage is spend a lot of time in figuring out what your goals are: long term, medium term, short term. I think also this is something which Ashish briefly touched upon. And then think of a strategy to achieve them, right? So don't just do things at random. Try to figure out your end goals, but at the same time, um, it will take you some time to figure out your end goals, right? So while you're figuring out your end goals, while you are not sure what you really want to do in life, learn what you can along the way. Once you figure out what you want to do, then you can become more specific and more efficient in what you are doing. But until you actually figure out what your goals are, you should just learn whatever you can learn, right? And in my opinion, having your mind fixed on an end goal actually makes your life a bit more meaningful and less stressful, right? So let me give you a quick example. Suppose your goal is to build a house, right? You won't give up on building a house and start crying if you lose a hammer. You will just buy another hammer and get on with the task, right? So this is to tell you that you should be flexible in your career strategy as well. This something along the lines of the pivot that Ashish was talking about. And then how to select a proper goal, right? So there is always what interests you and what is viable, what is possible, what will really make an impact. So it's a balancing act between these two. Um, and in the end, I would just leave you with this thought that don't get too much attached with the tools, right? Don't get obsessed with the tools. Focus on the goal. That's it. I think it's back to you, Arjit.
Uh, Thank you so much, Kunal. Some great life lessons there for sure. All right, moving on to the next big theme that we identified. This was around higher education. A lot of you wanted to kind of understand, is higher education a must-have? How to choose between MS and MBA and other choices out there? So let me take a stab at this question and try to answer this based on my own experiences. And just to give you a quick background about myself, I was someone who was straight out of IIT. I joined consulting with Deloitte, worked there for 3 years, and then started to wonder. Well, I started to wonder before that whether to go for an MS or MBA, and I eventually decided to do an MBA and not MS. So with that perspective and with that lens, let me try to first answer the question whether a master's degree is a must-have. So if I look at my own experiences after getting an MBA and others' experiences after getting MS and other master's degrees, I have zero doubt that master's degree is a great value addition. You get great exposure. As some of you mentioned, you're wanting to get from IIT, think even bigger in a master's degree. You'll get higher income for sure after you have a master's degree. You will gain a broader perspective over things that you never really thought about earlier. You will have a larger network, as some of you mentioned in the word cloud, that a lot of you wanted to come to IIT because you wanted to get to know these smart minds, these smart people. And masters will sort of add on to that network even more. You will gain a lot of meaningful experiences, not just from a professional point, but from a personal growth standpoint. Those experiences will add a lot to your personality with a master's degree. With all of these pros, there is one con that I want to point out that may happen for some of us as we can want to pursue masters, is the fact that it may result in a large debt that may create financial instability later. And this is especially true if you're wanting to go outside India and pursue higher education abroad, which was the case with me. I came to the US and did an MBA. With that in mind, I think pros still outweigh this one con, but be very careful of the dollar amount that you are paying for any master's program uh, and the specific program and institution you choose. I think the key really is to research as much as possible. Research, research, research. Ensure that you've spoken to enough people, you've read enough online to really make that choice, which program, which institution is best for you, and go based on that. Now, coming on to the MS versus MBA question, it's a little bit harder to answer in a broader setting here. But essentially, again, going back to Kunal's earlier point, it eventually depends on your life goals and what you want to do. A lot of people take higher education as sort of their pathway to immigration to a Western country. So that could be one of the goals that you have. There is nothing wrong with it. But if immigration is your key goal, then research what it takes to actually start living in those countries and actually start earning in those countries, and whether an MS degree will get you there or an MBA degree will get you there. So that should decide for yourself which one should you go for. Similarly, if you have some other goal that you want to really specialize in one degree, if you really want to go after computer vision, then perhaps specializing in that particular program and that degree will give you that happiness that you're after. So it really depends on your goals. One last thing that I want to note here is lay out your own goals, your own constraints in life, whether financial, personal, family, and your alternatives on a spreadsheet, and research the heck out of those alternatives to arrive at the one right one for you. And research not just on the internet, but also by talking to a diverse set of people. A lot of us, when we are at IIT, we feel like we can research everything online by ourselves. I have learned from my own experiences that talking to people gives you more. So do take the time to actually talk to those alums from those particular programs that you're targeting. All right, that's all I have to say about higher education. Moving on to the next theme, which is personal growth at IITR. And the three of us agreed that Kunal is the best person to answer that. So Kunal, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Arjit. If you can go to the next slide straight away. So, I mean, my life at IIT was, I mean, I split my time broadly between like these five things. I was involved in a lot of extracurriculars. A lot of time was taken away by the academics. I also pursued my hobbies. I was part of the robotics section in the hobbies club. I traveled a lot, which is something I enjoy, and I invested a lot of my time in long term friendships. lifelong friendships, which is, I think I was mentioning it earlier, which is probably the bigger takeaway for me from IIT. So it was definitely one of the best times in my life. What I would advise people here is that it is campus is a great place to explore your own self, right? So a lot of people for the first time have come out of their parents' houses and they are living on their own. So it's a great time to start exploring your own self. I think that is where I spent a lot of my thought and time. Uh, at the same time, it's also probably the best place and time to learn various invaluable soft skills, like which we will you will realize later that they are often more important than mere technical skills, right? So prioritizing leadership, teamwork, persuasion, time management, interpersonal interactions. This is like you could take it as a dress rehearsal for real life. So you can experiment here without the, like, you don't have that much cost associated with failure. If you fail in something in a campus group, it's not going to be devastating. Later in life, it might have a bigger impact. So take this opportunity, try to explore different avenues. Then, most importantly, make friends for life. This is probably I mean, this is not a black and white thing, but for me, this is one of the last times when you will make friends without any reason or any benefit out of making friends with someone, because and that's when long-term friendships are made, right? So do that, and at the same time learn from your peers. Everyone can teach you something. This is something I realized later, that I didn't have this much opportunity to be around so much talented people after I got out. You might get into a company and you will again get around some very talented people, but there will always be constraints there, right? Right now there are no constraints. You live in hostels, you can interact more freely. So take this opportunity. And as I mentioned before, it's important to figure out what your goals in life are. So invest a lot of time in building that foundation for your future life, and don't leave things to chance. So a lot of people actually also asked that how important are academics, for example. I would say again, I mean it's dependent, but they're quite important. If you want to pursue higher studies, they become super important, right? So you can't leave that on chance that, okay, I will not study well right now, but I'll see later. I still want to do an MS. It will not happen. You have to maintain your academic grades. So in general, general advice would be for everyone in first year, second year who's asking this, how important are academics? They're quite important, and in general, everyone should try to do the best they can in academics. But at the same time, you also have to focus on the other aspects. So then the question came was, how could I balance everything, right? So for me, my strategy to balance academics with everything else was, you need to learn to prioritize what to do when, what to focus on when. That if you can get an answer to this question, I think you will have no issues balancing everything out. There are people before you who have done that. There will be people after you who will do that. So it's not something anyone is born with. Eventually you learn to prioritize. You all these skills, all the soft skills that I talk about, they are all learnable skills. They are not dependent on talent. So that will be my advice to everyone, that invest this time in yourself, try to build a foundation for your future life, and or at the same time enjoy this time. Thank you. Back to you, Arjit.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kunal. And I know that we are at 7:30, but I'm guessing it's okay to go over a little bit. Let us know, Dheeraj or Jazz, if you guys or if your batches have any other commitments. We could also cut it short here, but if we are okay, just let us know and we can continue going. We have two more questions that we wanted to cover. All right, no response is good response. We'll continue going. Um, Next one is life after IIT. Can you give us a glimpse? A few of you wanted to know, and how do you invest in yourself and grow after IIT? Ashish, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Arjit. And if you can please go to the next slide. I want to literally just again split this answer in two parts. So first is I want to give you a glimpse of life after IIT. So firstly, life at IIT. Kunal already gave a view, right? And very similar to that, I know at IIT you have the classes, you have the sections, the different extracurricular. I mean, and you have the bhavans, hostel life, the civil lines, like the Roorkee town life, then the exams, right? Something not everyone likes, I guess. But then life after IIT, right? What are the components there? There is office for people who are going to pursue a job afterwards, so that's going to consume at least a third of your daily time, like at least 8 hours out of 24 hours, and which calls for a work life balance, which you never had to think about before, which is the balance between the office life and the non office life. uh, you will make new friends. Either if you go to a university for MS or to a new company, you will meet new people, so you will meet new friends, you will have to make new friends. You will either move to a big city or for a job, or you might even move abroad for masters or for even a job, right? Relationships, so not just the romantic relationships, but also relationship with your parents, with your close friends, that becomes really important as you grow like into that phase after IIT. Promotion, graduation, like this whole never ending race for progressing in career, and graduation for people who are going to consider like pursuing masters or PhD, writing the thesis, giving the defense and so on. Health and well-being. So sorry to break it to you, but we realized as we grew older, right, that you will never be as fit, or like you won't stay young forever, right? So spending time on health or your well-being really becomes important as a component of life after IIT. And of course financial independence, to be able to live on your own expenses, not living off our parents money. So those are like the kind of important elements that I wanted to share with you. It's not exhaustive for sure. And then the second part of the answer about how to invest and how to grow, right? So some of the points I wanted to share with you. If you can quickly go next, Arjit. So one of them was around, again, being adaptable, being flexible, being able to take turns, because I can assure you that life takes quite a turn after IIT. Be humble, be always be a lifelong student, always be eager to learn new things, because there will be new things to learn at each phase in your life. This point is quite important. The next one, which is about developing strong relationship with your family, but also your friends that you make at IIT. For example, I have maintained a very strong friendship with Arjit and Kunal, and trust you me, this is like perhaps one of the most important asset that I have from IIT, more than even the formal education. Like having this close network, because they are really kind of my support system when I have moved out of IIT, living in the real world, like in outside the campus. If you go next, Arjit, very quickly. Again, about the health aspect, please start thinking about investing in your physical and also mental health, because again, these are the times when you are at your youngest and at your physical peak, but this won't be there forever. um, and always maintain a hobby or some activity alongside, which helps you, just distract from the usual work, just to be able to de-stress. So for example, I was in music section in Roorkee, but I also pursued music afterwards. So this really helps me. Having a hobby like this becomes like a lifelong friend, virtual friend, which you can always distract yourself with. It's really helpful when you are in that constant stressful environment sometimes, after IIT, in work or in studies. So it's really helpful to have some hobbies, activities alongside. And the final one is that you are all IITians, so analytical intelligence is granted to you. You have proven your intelligence analytically, but what really will happen as you proceed in your career is you will notice that there is also this component that need to be learned. Actually, Kunal mentioned it in many ways. So what I'm referring to is the soft skills, but also in general the emotional intelligence that you need to kind of work on and grow this component in your life. So yeah, I mean, this is more or less the picture I want to give you. Before like life at IIT, but also life after IIT, right? So this is going to be different, but it's not like something completely spooky. You are always able to learn new things, and of course life before IIT was very different as well, right? So life at IIT is different, and life after will be different as well. So yeah, just keep these points in mind. Hopefully this helps. Yep, over to you, Arjit, again.
Thank you so much, Ashish. This last point is really important, and I cannot emphasize it enough. Again, as you mentioned, you hit the nail on the head, where analytical intelligence is given in all of us IITians, but we don't only need to understand machines to survive the world. We also need to understand other human beings, and that's a skill set that we never really truly learn, either in school or in college, and something you will have to learn at some point, and you will have to get better at as you progress further. So thanks so much for sharing that, Ashish.
Absolutely. Cool.
Going to the next one, which is the last one here. A few of you also wanted to kind of understand how to manage your time, how to make good trade-off decisions when you're being pulled into too many different directions. So for that, one of the key things that I want to mention is that prioritization is the key, as Kunal alluded to and Ashish alluded to earlier. It may seem at different points in life that everything is important, everything is high priority, everything must be done today or everything must be done yesterday. But that's not always the case. Dig deeper into actually what is your own life goal, what life journey do you want to take on, and depending on that you will be able to prioritize all of your different aspects, whether it's personal, family, professional, career, romantic relationships, everything else. So my unfortunately I can only give you some I can only give you specific answers in our one-on-one chat, but just to give some wide or sort of broader level tools here, and what I have done in life to sort of prioritize as I've grown in my career, is to start with longer term goals. To give you a time range, about 3 to 5 years. The reason I've put SMART goals here is not because you always should focus on creating SMART goals. Sometimes it's not easy, it's not even possible to create SMART goals. So be okay with creating simple, vague goals for the longer term, but still try to make them as smart as possible. As if you're not familiar with this, you can always go back and Google what SMART goals stand for, but try to aspire to them, but don't go too crazy. You can even create and start with simpler life goals for the longer term. Once you have your longer term goals down, you know what sort of, or have some level of clarity on around your longer term life goals. That's when you can start thinking about setting your medium term tasks or medium term goals, which in my view is about 1 to 3 months. What should I do in this 1 month that will set me up for success over my longer term goals? What should I do over the next quarter, perhaps? And what I do here is to use this tool to tell myself what's important for me. I basically classify everything that I have listed down as my medium term tasks into 4 different buckets: must do's, should do's, could do's, and will not do's. And one thing I want to highlight is don't keep more than 3 items in each of the bucket here. Uh, and it is very important to also have the fourth bucket. Some people just completely ignore that. It's important to have that, because sometimes as you go along in that journey for the next month or next quarter, you will feel like an item that was a must do on day 1, come day 20, it's no longer a must do because some external circumstances have changed now, and you want that bucket here to move that item from a must do to will not do at that point. So for sort of planning ahead for a month or 3 months, try to use this tool for yourself and classify your medium term goals into must do's, should do's, could do's, and will not do's. Finally, once you have gotten a hang of sort of planning for medium term, how can you prioritize daily? And for that, the framework or the tool that I use is to follow this 4D structure. which is delete, delegate, defer, and do. On a daily basis, think about how you get around to your emails or your WhatsApp when you wake up first thing in the morning. The first thing you do is you delete all your extended family group messages, right? Second, you delegate that tutorial your friend asked you to do to another friend who's actually good at completing those tutorials. Third thing is that you defer your dad's message about uh, calling an uncle. And then lastly, you arrive at that list which you really have to do today, else something will not be right tomorrow. And that's the list you really want to focus on for that day. So on a daily basis, this tool or this framework sort of helps me prioritize my day as I start in the morning. So hope that these tools were helpful. Again, prioritization is going to be very important going forward in life. So continue finding your own ways around prioritizing and continue finding your own tools and what works for you. All right, that's it from my side. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this talk. I hope you guys found some value. We can take some time for live chat Q&A here. However, I am not sure if our chat functionality is actually enabled on Meet. So perhaps we can use that raise hand functionality if anyone has a follow-up question that they would really like to ask us right now. If not, we also are going to leave you all with a feedback form where you can put your questions as a follow-up question and we could try to get to them as soon as possible. But if there are any questions now, please feel free to raise hand and uh, I can stop sharing my screen here.
Guys, I think someone already raised their hand. Dheeraj or Jazz, if you can coordinate this.
I see Saurabh Singh has
Yeah.
raised his hand.
Yes, sir. Those who have raised their hand can unmute themselves and ask their question.
Yeah, so Saurabh, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Sir, how to get to know what do I love to do? Like there are so many fields to work, but how to know what do I love actually?
Hmm.
Uh,
Kunal or Ashish?
should I answer this or Ashish, do you want to take this?
Go ahead, Kunal, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a good question. Question I ask myself a lot during my time at IIT and even later. But as we mentioned briefly before as well, I think this is not something you figure out in a day, right? So just as your long-term goals, you can't figure this out in a day. It takes time. So right now, what you can do is you can explore as many things as possible. Eventually, you will start arriving or you will start moving towards that. You will start realizing that, okay, I like these things more. Agreed that there are so many fields to explore, and oftentimes we have no idea what to do and what to leave. Always remember that like you can't do everything. There is a limitation on what you can or cannot do. Um, think about balancing what like so what you love is something that only you will know, right? But also think about what is meaningful, what will make an impact, what is going to pay your bills. So all those factors considered, uh, take your time to arrive at that conclusion. Don't just rush into deciding something or getting into a niche already. That will be my advice. Take this time, think about stuff, go deeper into each topic as deep as you can, and eventually, believe me, you will figure out what you love to do. It has never happened to anyone who has sincerely tried to figure out what they want to do in life, and they end up and they don't end up figuring it out. So it doesn't happen. It just takes time, and it can take more time for some people. It can take less time, uh, but you have to hang in there. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kunal. I also see a couple of hands being raised. So I think Raman has his hand raised. Raman, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, sir. Sir, the question is to Kunal, sir. Sir, when you talk about that startup thing, sir, when we have been working on our own idea, na, so it takes a little bit long time. Now, when the part comes where you have to pitch your idea, so sir, is it like that you pitch your idea to any ideathon or workshop without the fear that your idea is revealing now? So you can get more feedback from the people, or do we have some specific things or workshop or ideathons where you can manage that? Now here I have to pitch my idea without that fear, or just randomly we can pitch it? How to segregate that?
Yes, so that's a very good question. Normally, when you have these kinds of events, you every participant is asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, right? So that is the only thing that you can ensure. I know it's hard to enforce this thing. I mean, someone can go and try to copy your idea. So the one thing that you can look for is if the event has an NDA and if the event organizers care about this thing or not. This is something you have to find out on your own level. But at the same time, also remember that if you have a good idea, you can be 100% sure that someone else already has it, right? That it's not going to happen that your idea, I mean, it's very rare that your idea is unique and it's going to, a lot of people might have thought about it. I mean, there are close to 8 billion people now in on the planet. So don't have this mindset right now that what happens if my idea gets stolen, right? So because often, and I mean, if you go through some of the resources I've shared, a lot of the eminent speakers there or the authors will also emphasize on this fact that if you want to start have your own startup, you have to do away with this fear of getting copied, because startups don't succeed because of only ideas. Ideas are only 10 to 15% of they have only 10 to 15% contribution in your success. Of course, without an idea, you will not be starting up. There needs to be a certain degree of innovation. There needs to be a certain degree of ingenuity in your idea. But oftentimes in real life, what matters is how you execute those ideas. So this advice was given to me as well when I was working on my own startup, and it was like, if you are afraid of pitching your idea uh, and you're afraid that someone will steal it, then you should not get into entrepreneurship. Focus more on realizing your idea. And see, the thing is, think practically. You have to pitch it, right? How else will you get feedback? So if you are really concerned, you can start pitching to trusted people only, best of your friends, people who don't have any business stealing your idea. For example, if you share your idea with another startup founder who is like deeply working on his own startup and is very busy, that person is very unlikely to steal your idea. And if someone gives you like negative feedback on your idea, that's even good, because then that person is like probably not going to steal your idea. So there, it's a bit give and take. There is no guarantee that your idea will never get stolen even after you sign NDAs and all that. I mean, uh, there is no monitoring on who meets who. So do away with this fear and focus more on realizing that idea.
Awesome. Thanks, Kunal. I do see one more hand up from Tushar, and I think we can have this as our final question. And after this, any other questions, we will share the slides with you. On the last slide, you will see a link to answer or ask your question on that Google form. So go ahead, Tushar, unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sir, I had the doubt that now, as the news and everything is there, that now we will be having the online semester now. So my doubt first is how can we maximize our productivity right now? And though we don't know anything about our goals right now, and we cannot actually go to the campus and have the means the groups which we can join or improve our emotional intelligence. So what can we do right now at home?
Any thoughts from Ashish? I have my 2 cents, but I can go after you if you have something.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I think this situation has been thrusted upon onto us to either work from home or study from home because of the pandemic, and I see this as a great opportunity. I have now started to find so much time to actually do those things that I wanted to do for a long time. One quick advice here, I would say being home does not limit your ability to actually interact with people. Look at the number of attendees in this chat, and we are still here chatting with people. There's always opportunities to start things virtually. If you feel there's a club which is becoming dormant and you were either part of it or you wanted to be a part of it, try to initiate that conversation digitally. Try to get that group started digitally. If not a group, if you want to still chat with people, network with them one-on-one, there's so many resources at your disposal. Go and ask them. If you feel like you want to chat with them, go and ask for 15 minutes of their time over chat. Go and chat with them on LinkedIn or any other platform. So the ways to actually network and improve your emotional intelligence, I don't think they probably they are limited, but they haven't gone away completely. So try to understand that people are actually open to chatting with people. We are social beings eventually, right? So, and one common trait in all of us is that we like to talk about ourselves. Everyone does. Ask them questions about their life choices. When you go and visit someone's profile on LinkedIn or anywhere else, ask them question, why did they make a certain choice? Why did they make a certain transition? And I bet you they will be inclined to answer that question because it's pertaining to their own life, their own uh, choices. So try to make those connections that way. I hope this was helpful.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. With that, I know we are 23 minutes over, but let me just quickly share the screen here so that you guys can actually see where to find the form that you can access. So on the last slide of the deck, I will be sharing the link to this Google Slides in either on email or on the Facebook group, anywhere you'd like. And here on this form, you can actually go and ask any follow-up questions you may have from us. With that, thank you all so much for joining. It's been a wonderful morning for morning for me, and I hope evening for you guys. Feel free to connect with the three of us on LinkedIn over here. You'll find our LinkedIn profiles here, and ask us any questions there if you want to have a one-on-one. All right. Thank you once again. And
Thank you
I
so
also
much
like,
for this wonderful session.
yeah, really want to thank also like the students who organized this on their end. Thanks to Arjit, thanks to Kunal. This was really special for me as well to connect with you. Once again, we might not have answered all the questions that you have had. Feel free to reach us out. Feel free to use the Google form to fill in your questions. Trust us, we will look at them. We will somehow try to communicate back to you. And yeah, let's stay connected. Let's see if you really like this. We can do more of these in the coming days. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
awesome. Thanks, Ashish.
Especially thank you, Arjit sir and Ashish sir and Kunal sir, on behalf of everyone present in the meeting. And thank you everyone for being present here and making this wonderful event a success.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Shivam. All right. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
sir.
Thank you.